You don't have to be mean.
Right.
Like when you're setting a boundary about how you're going to spend your holiday.
Right.
And because it's like also today, like, so it's the, divorce and step families, it's like that's in the picture.
Right.
Yes.
And so as Christ followers,
Right.
like how we communicate life, how we communicate kindness matters. So when you're setting a boundary,
Right.
you can be clear and kind. We all have like that person in our family around Christmas time, or
No,
you don't. Yeah, well, we have that. We've had that person and sometimes those people, and I just remember sitting, and then so when I married Philip, he's the youngest of 5, and so they had spouses and kids, and they did things differently than
What you were accustomed
what I was accustomed to. And of course my ways.
Oh,
Right.
Of course, of course.
Right. And then, and then just even other parts of the family you would go, and there's dinners with, I think that person's drinking too much, and there's the crazy person there. And so I just think there's this drama sometimes that comes when you bring families together.
Yeah.
And as a pastor, oftentimes we'll tell people, because as we've spoken about this week, people have unrealistic expectations about Christmas.
Right.
And so they keep thinking that this year it's going to be different. Right. That I'm going to go home to my family, and this year it's going to be different. It's all going to be good. And then it's terrible, right? It's weird, it's sad, it's sometimes borderline abusive, horrible, and then they come back and then they have to recover for months from their horrible Christmas.
Yeah.
And so as a pastor, we've started saying, don't go then.
Right.
It's like, create your own thing now. Right. Invite some friends over and create a new family until, and then when you get married, you create yours. You don't have to go where there's the drama.
Right.
And so I just think life is filled with enough drama.
Well, how do you tell your mama no?
How do you tell your mama no?
How do you tell your mama no?
Whoa.
This way.
How do you do that?
Mom, hello, Mom. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. This year, I'm gonna do something different, and I'm gonna stay home.
What do you mean? You're not coming?
Yeah, not this year, Mom. But we'll talk on Christmas Day.
But I want you.
I know. And I'm gonna miss you too, but I'm gonna call you. And we can even FaceTime.
My grandkids.
Yeah, we'll FaceTime. I love you. Bye.
And scene. Powerful.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be you. You're the good grandma.
Yeah, I'm the good grandma.
But listen,
It's the emotional blackmail that you get.
that's what I feel like. That's what I've had to help people navigate.
Emotional blackmail.
Emotional
Oh gosh, yeah.
If you loved me, you would.
You would.
right.
That's what people put on you.
Manipulation.
And I just think, who wants to
Condemnation.
spend Christmas having felt manipulated?
Absolutely. Nobody does.
No.
That's
You end up
control.
resenting that person.
Yes.
You go, but nobody has a great time.
It's such a strange time because for so many of us, if you go into like a large family gathering, the last time we've talked to these people was a year ago. So now with social media, maybe they can see more about your life. But if you're not close with some of the extended family with people, it's like, for this sacred holiday, I'm spending it with a room of strangers.
Christmas can be challenging, depending on who your family is, who your extended family is. And sometimes, I've heard like one of my friends saying, I'm just dreading Christmas this year because there's that one aunt, who just always loses the place and gets upset by every little thing. And then some people try and fix her and other people ignore her, and it's a disaster. And we can look at it that way, and that can be incredibly challenging. Or we could think, Lord, maybe this is the year that instead of trying to see how I can have everything kind of nice and perfect the way I want it, maybe this is the year where I could pay attention to the one who perhaps is not the easiest to love. Sometimes you'll discover that right beneath the surface of anger or of outbursts, there's often hurt and pain and fear. One of my husband's aunts, and we used to all gather together as a family in Charleston, South Carolina. And she was quite a challenge sometimes, and she would kind of lose the place. And I decided that one year I was just kind of spend more time with her than I did with the rest of the family. And I got to know her in a way I never had before. And I began to understand the root of some of what was coming out. A lot of it was loss, and a lot of it was pain. Son is just paying a little bit more attention.
you know, you could create your own environment. And that's what I chose to do, really. I don't go with people who I haven't been with all year long or who I haven't spoken to, you know, all year long. I invite, you know, my family. Like on a couple of other shows, I was telling you, it's 100 people that will come. At times, it's brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, and that's it. And every year, can you say every year how we say every year? It never fails. It's one of them will call and say, hey, I have my mother-in-law with me this year. Can she come? No. Hey, I got a girlfriend. I want to know if she could come. No, no girlfriends, no boyfriends are allowed.
Come on.
No girlfriends, no boyfriends are allowed. Only my family members. The only time I will consider allowing a boyfriend or girlfriend to come is if they are engaged, because I don't want to introduce new people to a system, to a community of people who may not even be there next year.
Yeah.
You know, all of my ministry life, I have always been very vulnerable, if you will. I've always made myself available and open to our ministry. And here I have 3 children that I've raised up in ministry who've had to share every moment, you know, of their lives with other people. And it's so important to say it's okay for you to have private time with just you and your family. And we had to set boundaries. And I have even gone to my children to say, hey, is it okay? What do you think about, you know, inviting these people right here? Or do you want to have it, you know, just with us?
My life and your life is open to so many people all the time. Like my people are coming, I'm having people over, so it's not like I don't invite the stranger. It's not like I don't invite the broken and the hurting and create a big table for them. But it's okay sometimes at Christmas
To be with your family.
to be with your family.
Is that okay?
Yeah. And so pick a moment, pick some time, and just be together and enjoy it. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to set a boundary and not be made to feel guilty that you don't go someplace you don't want to go. That, you know, to create that boundary, I think that's fine.
It's okay to say no.
Now, if you never invite strangers in your world, that's a different story.
Then that's a different story.
But that's not what we're talking about.
I mean, my life is open. You know, like your home is your safe haven, and it should be a place where you invite people who you want to be there at that certain time.
So Matt's always been really good at, you know, birthdays and celebrations, that if we can't just do something on that day, if we're traveling on that day, let's do it the next day. Let's do it the next week. Let's celebrate, you know, the week prior or whatever. It never always had to be on that day. And sometimes I think making a priority time for your family, you know, I felt like I shared my parents all through my childhood. I shared them with our church, you know, and that was great to be their family when they had no families, and that was awesome. But I would have also liked the quiet time, which they provided also. So I just think it's important that your family unit have a special time together.
One of the things I learned a long time ago is that no is a complete sentence. I don't have to have something that comes before it or something that comes after it. You know, when you have the freedom to say no, then you make every yes worthwhile. Every yes when you want somebody involved is good. But every year when Christian got older, I would say on his birthday, what one thing do you want us to do this year that would be fun? And one Christmas, on birthday, he said, I would like every Tuesday night if you and I shoot hoops together. And I'm like, totally, dude, we will do that. So we would shoot hoops every Tuesday. And then one of the ladies in our neighborhood rang my doorbell and said, would you be willing to host a Bible study? And I said, yeah, actually, I would love to do that. And she said, we've all agreed that Tuesday will work for us. And I said, actually, I'm sorry, but I can't do Tuesday. And she said, well, I didn't pick Wednesday because I know you're at church. What's wrong with Tuesday? I said, well, actually, I shoot hoops with Christian on Tuesday. And she said, are you telling me that shooting hoops is more important than having a Bible study in your own home? And I said, that's exactly what I'm telling you. Yeah. You know, I'm telling you that. Yep. And it's like, I knew she was disappointed. I knew she would go talk about all the other ladies about me. But I thought, if my word towards my son is not more important than what other people think of me, then I've failed as a mother.
So then that becomes a people-pleasing.
Yeah, it does.
So I get stuck with that a lot. And what I probably admire most about my mother-in-law is that she had a hard no. You know, and I was like going, oh, but my goodness, that just, you know, that's going to upset the apple cart in so many ways.
Yeah.
But what I experienced is that she had a fast, sure no, whereas I would be lenient. Well, then look who's going through it. I'm the one going through it because they're there and they're, you know, and so I'm the one suffering because I didn't have a hard no to protect what God, so our families are our church in miniature. That's our ministry in miniature, and we have to nurture that.
To anyone that's going through family drama this holiday season, I would say to not underestimate the power of pausing and praying for your attitude and your heart during this season. It is so important that you have the correct perspective of yourself, the correct perspective of them, and the correct perspective of the situation. So you're not anxious for reasons that don't exist. So you're not stressed out about things that aren't real. It is so important that you do not let your stress just become this momentum that spirals you off to somewhere crazy. Pause, pray, and pray that God gives you the correct perspective. What's your role in that situation and what do you have to let go of?
My favorite Christmas memory is growing up in my huge family. I have a large family. There's 24 of us. We're all adopted except one. Yeah. And I remember just being in my onesie and all my sisters in their onesies too. And we would go out and there would be so many presents. We had this huge Christmas tree and it'd be so many presents. We had to sit in another room because it was so packed. And it was just fun growing up. We had these great memories of going to church together, opening presents, and just having family time.
Christmas makes me think about the fact that Jesus would come to be amongst us, that he would choose to be in the middle of it all. And his plan was to always journey with us in the middle of it all. His plan from the beginning was to be in relationship with his creation, to walk with us. And the story of Christmas introduces us to God being here on earth once again with us. And through his spirit, he continues to now journey with us. And it's what he intended from the beginning. And Christmas is the introduction to a love story that all humanity would experience the goodness and the faithfulness of God reaching out to us.
So many people are navigating divorce and blended families, right? So that creates, it's a whole other dynamic, right, around Christmas. So I've watched my daughter navigate that. You know, she's married to a man who had 2 little girls, and so then we just navigating, you know, his ex-wife, just the blended families. And so I think there is this element of, you know, keeping your heart open for what is new, because it could be your new favorite thing. However, if it gets messy, then you can still go, but tonight or this day is going to be ours. I have so much compassion for people navigating blended families. It's a tricky thing, and especially around the holidays, because everybody wants Christmas, right? So, and I've watched my daughter navigate this. And so for the first year, it was, you know, he has them for, you know, 2 hours, and then they go to the mom for 4 hours, and then they would get him back for 3, and it was just crazy, the back and forth. And finally my daughter said, no, how about if we alternate years? You can have Christmas Day this year, we'll have Christmas Day next year. And so then when she did that, then she said to her family, she said, so the weekend before, we'll make that Christmas. We'll just have it on a different day and celebrate together. And so she just got flexible with it. And I just thought that was genius. I just think being creative then with protecting, you know, your time and your space, and it may not be the exact day, but then setting some boundaries so you get to have your family time.
You know, divorce is painful, but hey, it's life. You have more blended families than you do the traditional family, and so it's evident that you're going to have at some time somebody that's going to be connected to you, or you yourselves are going to be in a relationship that will have children from another relationship. And it can be a little tough because, like, my son himself is, you know, divorced and have a son. And, you know, I thank God that I have a great relationship with the mother of my grandson, that I can call and ask her, can I keep him? But everybody is not in that position. And so you're going to have to keep your heart right, and you're going to have to be kind, and you're going to have to believe God for opportunities that will give you a time where you can have shared time with that child, or with the other in-laws, or whatever, or whoever you're dealing with in that time. And so I'm not going to allow what happened between my son and her to affect me.
Right.
So I remain the nice one. I mean, I'm not going to invite her over into my environment unless my son is okay with it.
Right.
But there are boundaries I know that has to be set.
Yep.
Sure.
It's a change that has taken place,
it is.
you know, in our family dynamics. But I want my grandson there.
The holidays are different for everyone. We can't possibly standardize this holiday. Growing up for me, my brothers and sisters and I, like, we are a blended family. We have different dynamics than maybe other families do. We do what works for us. We have different traditions, different holidays. We make the most of it. We don't get to have a Christmas like you do, and you don't get to have a Christmas like we do. Christmas is not something that can be put in a box. No tradition can. No family is the same. So forget what you think is normal. Forget what you think is standard. You create what Christmas is for you and your family. No one is normal. No one's family situation is the only way to be. I love growing up in a blended family, and continuously, my husband and I and our friends and family, we're constantly evolving into what this holiday means for us. What I was hearing you guys say is we need to have our own boundaries. Like, we need to have our own boundaries so that we don't blame other people, the church, our family members, our friends, for asking so much of us. We have to set our own boundaries. But also, we have to respect other people's boundaries.
Right.
Other people want their time with their family. Other people want their time with their group of friends. So we need to have our own boundaries. No one else is responsible for the health of our lives but ourselves. But also, we gotta respect other people's boundaries. Everyone's just trying to do it. Serving the local church, having people all the time. You have a lot of obligations, most that you love to be able to serve, but you gotta have your boundaries. You gotta respect other people's too. That's powerful.
I remember one time, this was before I got married, and I wanted my brother-in-law, because all of them are older than me, my brother-in-law, I wanted him to meet, you know, Mike at that time. And I was like, come on and meet Mike. He was like, why do I want to meet Mike? He might not even be here next year. You know, I'll meet him when you decide this is who you really want to be with. And it really made sense to me.
Well, it offends, though, a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know.
That's if you wear your feelings on your shoulders, right?
But that's where we have to respect others.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that in you. That you actually got that.
I got it. It was like, hey, you're right. Let's just.
Yeah, he might not last.
He's not be here next year. Let me just, you know, ride this one out for a little while.
When I was growing up, one of the greatest challenges in my life was my aunt's mother-in-law, because she knew that all I ever wanted was a dog. But, you know, just because of my family's circumstances, my mom couldn't afford to get us a dog and to take care of a dog. But every single Christmas, we would go to my aunt's for Christmas, and all the extended family would be there. And this lady was from Ireland, and she would say to me every single Christmas, "Have you not got a wee dog yet?" And I would spend the next 10 minutes in tears in the bathroom. And so if you've got somebody in your family like that, you know, I get it. You know, maybe you're not married yet, and they're like, you know, so, you know, you married yet? No ring on your finger? Or maybe you've been married for a while and you don't have children. It's like, you know, we hear the little patter of feet. That can be so hard unless you just learn to, I mean, you can't snap back at a family member because, you know, that's not going to go very well. And if you love the Lord, then you don't want that. But you can simply say like even before the meal begins, just say, I would just like to say up front, before we all have time to talk to each other, no, I'm not married yet. No, I'm not having a baby. And no, I don't have a dog. And I'd be happy to talk to you all about anything else, but those subjects are off. But I love the fact that you as pastors would give permission to your people to say, you know, listen, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a real gift to people in a congregation who are maybe like, I don't know how to navigate these emotional waters.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, giving them permission to set a boundary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think the younger generation can practice these things now. Maybe we don't have kids yet, maybe we don't have giant families or giant obligations yet, but we can practice boundaries now and prepare ourselves for the other seasons. We also now, even if we're younger, single, don't have these obligations or responsibilities yet, can practice not being obsessed with what people care about you so much that you're killing yourself to please a million people. We can practice now having boundaries so that we're not over-promising and over-committing ourselves during the holiday season, whether that's through serving at church.
Or working.
Working, whether that's even good things, working and serving, or other friend obligations. But you, man, you're in charge of like, your own health. You're in charge of your own boundaries. And I see all the time people my age blaming the church for asking them to volunteer too much, or blaming their friends for inviting them to do too many things. Like, I just have so much responsibility. It's like, well, how much was in your power to say no? And so we hear boundaries with people that have more life than us, but we can practice it now. We can start honing in on these skills now. Set ourselves free earlier to be less imprisoned by what other people think about us. And believe when people say things to us, like you're saying, here's people that I've been here for all the time. So just trust that I love you. Just you weren't invited to this one thing. I have other people I love, other obligations I love. We also have to take people for their word. They say, I love you, I value you. Don't be upset or feel so bad for yourself when you weren't invited to these things. Do you believe that their yes is yes and no is no? Give people some credit. I think the younger generation, we can start practicing some of these things.
Absolutely.
I think the Christmas season is a great place where obligation and opportunity meet. I think sometimes there's a fine line between feeling obligated to go spend time with my family, or I could go over here and be with my friends. I tell you what, let's make a deal. You pray for me and I'll pray for you. Because you know what? Everybody's different. Every season is different. Each one of our family lives is different. It's a great time for fruit maturing, the fruit of the Spirit. It's a great time to reach out to those in your family that maybe things haven't gone right. Just pray that the Lord opens doors for you. That if there is something that you can minister into, if there is an open door to minister love into something or into a situation, do your best.
We judge people based upon how we are. You know, we assume that everybody is able to accept whatever we are able to accept. And
That's
sometimes we have to, you know, just think maybe they can't handle.
People have a different capacity.
Absolutely. And so sometimes we probably do have to present it a little different, but.
You know, I do love this program because there is something in everybody that brings their color, their tribe, their every experience to the table, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter.
I'm the one that cut you.
We are.
I'm doing that.
You're not with a smile.
The great thing, Dee Dee, every time you say yes, it's going to mean
so much more.
It's going to mean so much more.
Yes, and then they expect to come every time. So even sometimes you have to say, yes, I'm going to invite you this time, but next time you may not be invited.
I'm so thankful you come to Better Together.
Yes, I love you. People are being set free.
That's right.
Right now. And you don't have to be mean. It's like, I know her.
I'm not mean with it.
It's just like when we were doing that fake little phone call to the mom. You don't have to be mean. Like when you're setting a boundary about how you're going to spend your holiday. And because like, it's like also today, like, so it's the, you know, divorce and step families. It's like, that's in the picture.
Yes.
And so as Christ followers, like how we communicate life, how we communicate kindness matters. So when you're setting a boundary, you can be clear and kind. Father, I just pray for everyone watching, and I know that there are many people watching who are, you know, navigating some tough family situations. Perhaps some people in prison, some people who are in rehab, or and then maybe even some that have come out, or you know, come out of the rehab or out of prison and at home now, and so just navigating some of that, or the divorce, or you know, so I know that there's can be a lot of family tensions and dynamics, and they get elevated at Christmas. And so, Father, I just pray right now that your Spirit would invade every home, that your peace would invade every heart, and that your people would actually be able to walk through this season with a joy that's genuine and real, would be able to forgive those who are hurtful. And I also pray, God, that you would give all of us this ability to set boundaries that aren't mean, but that are clear, in order to protect our own hearts. And I just pray that we'd be wise with our time, that we would find some time and some margin in the midst of this season to be with those closest to us. And I pray that we would have our hearts open wide and would bring people to the table that, need to encounter the love of God. So I just pray, Father, that you'd give us wisdom this season and peace. And I pray that people would encounter your love in such a fresh new way, that it would be just so powerful. And I thank you, Jesus, for who you are and that you are the best gift. Amen.